I've said it countless times, I'm always rooting for the underdogs, perhaps to my own detriment. But hey, I get a great deal of satisfaction from rooting for the smaller guys, the people much like myself who are doing it mostly on our own, with very little assistance. What can I say? It raises my vibrations. So, highlighting indie video games is a given. I particularly love and respect the freedom awarded to indie developers, the freedom which comes from not having to bend to the will of the masses, not having to compromise your vision, being able to attempt something new and outside the box without the fear of not meeting some expected quota or pleasing investors who couldn't give two shits about your creative process, only concerned with sales figures. You see, if creators of the past were only concerned with what will make them wealthy, what will keep them comfortable in their uncomfortable comfort zones, keep doing what you're doing because it's still selling, if they're still paying for it, don't change it attitude, then there'd be no innovation. We'd probably still be using rotary dial phones. Innovation comes from taking risks and doing things differently. And this is what many indie devs have been doing over the decades, sometimes making major deviations from the tried and true formulas, sometimes only subtle changes, and I applaud them for it. So, today, in this video, I list my top 5 indie games reviewed for 2022. That's right, this isn't the top 5 best games made for that year, just the titles I was privileged to review. Let's do this. If you watched my review of Best Month Ever, you'd probably be thinking, this guy is contradicting himself. But I'm not. Best Month Ever, though plagued with try-hard mediocrity, from the voice acting to the camera, the visuals, and several questionable gameplay design choices, still has its appeal. Beneath all its quirks and flaws, this was still an admirable effort from what I believe are first-time developers, as it was created by the Warsaw Film School video game and film production studio. So, I have reason to think this was created by students of Warsaw, and it shows. Best Month Ever took risks touching on some very sensitive topics, including child abuse, rape, racism, and loss. And while I still hold firm that they could have gone more balls to the wall Quentin Tarantino on the racism, instead of trying to dilute it with censorship, censoring the word nigger while leaving other words like cunt for all to hear sent the wrong message to me. But I won't get into that here, it's all in my review. Best Month Ever still conveyed the story well enough and deserves its spot on this list.
Mom? I'm fine, sweetheart. Quite an adventure, isn't it?
Yes, the best vacation ever.
Although by my voice alone, I'm certain you can tell I'm old school. I'm not one who can't let go of the past. I mean, I have no particular affinity for retro-styled games. Voxel art, pixel art, that whole PS1, Sega Saturn generation look, none of those. Don't get me started on the N64, my least favorite console of all time. However, Janitor Bleeds reminds me that while great visuals, modern visuals are a definite plus, it takes a whole lot more than that to make a good game. And Janitor Bleeds is certainly a good game. This PS1-styled indie horror game was a treat to play through from beginning to end, and although it clearly does not have anything near photorealistic visuals, it certainly creeped me out sufficiently. It has a Twilight Zone Tales from the Crypt vibe to it, and is more of a walking simulator than anything else, but it all worked so well. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have Bright Memory Infinite. This doesn't even look like an indie game. This looks 100% AAA, but it was all created by one person, and while, like I said in my review, I do believe the dev tried to cram maybe too much into this small package, it was still a job well done. The story was incoherent and completely uninteresting. It felt like I caught a movie in the middle and I didn't sit through it till the end. It felt like part 2 of a 3-part series. But that aside, Bright Memory Infinite, being, if memory serves me correctly, the first game I played on current gen, has great visuals, smooth controls, good audio, and overall highly entertaining gameplay mechanics. So hats off to the developer, and I look forward to playing what he comes up with next. Shadow of the Guild by France-based indie developers Guild Studio was a love-at-first-sight thing for me. I saw Shadow of the Guild on Twitter, just bits, teasers, and that's all it took. I wanted more. Good thing it was picked up by indie publishers Bonus Stage Publishing and they hooked me up with a review key. While still a bit rough around the edges and no Assassin's Creed Chronicles, I can see and feel the passion put into this project. It's a great indie game with lots of promise. Based on the ending, I suspect Guild Studio will be releasing this episodically, and it was also a pretty short experience. And it's also based on a French novel. So based on these factors, I fully expect more from Shadow of the Guild, a 2D platformer with an interesting and well-told story with RPG elements to boot. Good job, Guild Studio. Much like Shadow of the Guild, the visuals here in Sword of the Vagrant captivated me. It was a game I had to experience, and from beginning to end, this side-scrolling Vanillaware-styled action RPG held my attention. The visuals, the story, the gameplay mechanics, the boss fights, this was all so well put together. With a satisfying skill tree progression system, great combo chain mechanics, coupled with this hand-drawn water paint art style, Sword of the Vagrant was an easy win. This was one truly polished, refined experience that shows that the developers are no strangers to the genre. It was originally released back in 2017 on PC as The Vagrant, so I guess they had plenty of time to iron out any wrinkles and correct all the flaws, which would explain why the console version I played felt so good, and why it holds the #1 spot on this list. This is a short list, as although I did review other indie games in 2022, it's not that they were trash, but some were VR indie titles, and I have another list just for VR. Didn't want to mix the two, and there were others of note, like Endling, Extinction is Forever, and The Story of the Flood, plus a bunch of indies the ladies did experiments on, which I made just to make a best experiments list of 2022 before this month is done as well. But while there were other good indies here at the Lab Video Game TV, these are the 5 that stood out the most. I'm certain this is an unpopular opinions list, but that's just how I like it, and perhaps one of the major contributing factors to my overall admiration for indie creators, as I am also one myself in a different capacity. Feel free to share in the comment sections your favorite indies of 2022. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But let's say I pissed you off somehow with this one. Then hey, the logical course of action would be to dislike, unsub, leave a fiery comment, whatever it takes to leave you feeling vindicated. Either way, I won't hold it against you. Our game is never over.